We want to introduce a couple of panelists quick. We're going to have Jeff Nadeau from eCapital on there. My name is Steve Winter. I'm one of the partners at eCapital. We're also going to be joined with David McAndrews as well as Jeff Priest from OneStream. So as we were thinking about this webinar, we really wanted to think about some of the challenges we're all dealing with today. Now, obviously, there's some unique situations out there, and some of the things we kept thinking about is how eCapital, and I'm sure all of your organizations have had to reforecast their business and really take a pause and think about, are those financial targets and goals you set at the beginning of the year still realistic? And so we're excited to share today a little bit more about how OneStream, as an organization and their solution, is really helping with some of that reforecasting, answering some of those what-if scenarios and questions, and really providing analytics on the back end to really understand, are we driving the right metrics? Are we reforecasting correctly to deal with, what is a very uncertain environment? So again, we're definitely happy you're here today. As a quick agenda, we're going to go through a real quick intro on eCapital, who we are as an organization, and how we work with our customers and clients. Then I'm going to turn it over to David, and he's going to help out from a OneStream perspective and provide a little overview of OneStream and their solution. Finally, Jeff will come in and talk a little bit more about some of those business challenges you're all dealing with, and we'll work in the demo of OneStream and how we're really addressing some of those challenges. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and get started. So looking at eCapital, if you haven't worked with us in the past, we really, pride ourselves on being those, problem solvers, transformational and technology leaders with a mission to really connect, that expertise and analytics to help organizations really make better business decisions. And our vision is that every business has easy access to the data that helps tell their story. And again, some of the problems we solve as an organization, it's in a lot of different areas, but it's really focused on performance management and analytics. Today, we're really going to narrow the focus of the conversation to some of that reforecasting and the dynamic modeling and scenario planning that we really need to get on. For those organizations that might be using Excel today, or maybe some legacy planning systems, it can be really challenging if it's a disjointed process. You don't have some of that integrated reporting and analytics to really support the inputs that are going into that planning process. So that's our focus for today. Jeff Nadeau will come and talk about that a little bit more in just a second. So from an eCapital perspective, this is really the areas of expertise for us. And if you've heard the term performance management, CPM or EPM, those are really the things that FP&A is doing or the Office of Finance is doing. So your traditional budgeting, planning, forecasting, those types of things. As of late, with the current economic environment, we're getting asked to do a lot of reforecasting in other areas of the business, like supply chain. Obviously, there's been huge disruptions in global supply chain, so a lot of reforecasting there. A lot of our clients are being asked to create 13 or 26-week rolling cash flow forecasts, so we're doing a lot more of that. And then your traditional, financial close, consolidations, legal and management reporting as well. Analytics is obviously a very fast-growing thing out there in the market right now. And it really comes down to data, being able to, collect and wrangle all of that data, put it in a modern data platform, applying governance, information security, and then getting ready that data, to turn it into insights, right? By visualizing the data, then adding things like AI, machine learning, predictive, to really enrich that data and help people make those, business decisions with the information they have. Along both those areas, both performance management and analytics, I think one of the things we're seeing recently is a lot more automation with tools like RPA to automate some of those repetitive or mundane tasks to really drive efficiencies within organizations. Finally, another capability we bring is our advisory and enablement team. And so our advisory team really works with customers to help create technology roadmaps, to help them do vendor evaluations, to work with them on really process reengineering, enablement of these types of solutions throughout the organization, which sometimes can be the most challenging part of this. So that's a lot about what we do. The benefit I think we have as an organization is we're very fortunate to work with a lot of different organizations. Over the last 20 years, we've learned a lot of great companies, from $50 million in revenue companies to Fortune 5, right? And so across all industries, all different types of organizations, and we really partner with them to try to really take these solutions to market and really add value to their organization. So very quickly, that's a little bit about eCapital. I'd like to transition a little bit over to the OneStream side. And if you're not familiar with OneStream yet, it's a really great organization. And, having been implementing these solutions for many, many years, they truly do have a unique solution in the marketplace, and David will talk to you about that in a second. As a consulting organization, again, one of the things I'm most impressed with them about is, they're 100% focused on customer satisfaction. That is the #1 goal and priority. They want to make sure every customer is a reference, and it shows when you talk to their salespeople, their support people. They're really about driving success for their organization. So they're growing, adding logos left and right in the marketplace. I'm just really, really excited about our partnership with OneStream. So with that, David, I think I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much, Steve. And Ryan, are you shifting control, or do I just need to share here? Sorry.
You've got control now, David. Let me know if you have any issues.
All right, no problem. Thank you. All right, if everybody can see that, I just want to share a little bit about OneStream with you guys today. So, this first slide I have just does a really good job of highlighting the OneStream DNA. As Steve mentioned, our focus, our mission is to make every OneStream software customer successful. And, we're fanatical about it, and it does mean absolutely everything to us. And naturally, we're not perfect, but we do anything and everything we can to make our customers successful. And most uniquely, you can ask them yourself. So should you give us the opportunity to learn about our business, you can choose from any of our 500 customers to speak with directly. And obviously, in our industry, this is very unique, as we often and other technologies have challenges delivering even a handful of references. And where this all starts is our leadership. Our founders, Tom Shea and Bob Powers, are true visionaries in this CPM world. They both founded, built, and developed companies and technology that remain core to Hyperion and Oracle CPM well over a decade later. And based on their deep knowledge of finance and financial systems, they started out with a clean slate and set out to create a modern platform that takes advantages of new technologies. And they did that by founding OneStream in 2008. We believe that delivering 100% customer success requires domain knowledge in every area of the organization. And we have invested heavily in bringing top talent into all functional areas. So currently we're just over 500 employees, and we have about an average of 10 years of experience in this particular space. So we're delivering a great deal of value, bringing in thought leaders from all over the industry together. And one of the keys to our 100% customer success, if you have the opportunity to talk to any of our customers, is having a truly world-class support team. So some vendors may make you wait for hours or even days for a response to a support ticket. And at OneStream, first response is usually under about 40 minutes, and 90% of tickets are resolved within 1 day. And this is because our staff are experts that handle your request from first call through resolution for continuity. Our support team also has a direct link to the development team. And we've also developed some embedded diagnostics within the platform that help our support staff identify, isolate, and also resolve issues faster. And, with our commitment to 100% customer success, a lot of this comes through, recognition from the analyst community that we receive based primarily on surveys of our customers. Probably most notably, Gartner, arguably the gold standard in technology reviews, recently released their peer reviews. And if familiar, this is a customer review written by the software vendors that's submitted and reviewed by Gartner prior to publishing. So these are all user feedback. And OneStream has tested out 5 out of 5 rating for cloud financial close solutions and 4.9 out of 5 in cloud financial planning and analysis solutions. So the marketplace has really responded to us, and once again, delivering a solution with a great deal of ease of use. And as we talk about customer success and satisfaction, again, every customer is a reference at OneStream and a success. So you can talk to any of them about why they selected us and the results that they've achieved. And if just looking at this as some examples of our customer base, the majority are global organizations with sophisticated requirements. And we've most often deployed at a corporate level for use across the organization rather than just as a departmental point solution, which just shows that the value that the platform is bringing to these organizations. So to just briefly touch on the platform ahead of passing it to Jeff, OneStream's unified platform is an example of a purpose-built application designed to support financial close and consolidation, planning, budgeting, forecasting, reporting, and analytics. And from the start, it was designed with a high degree of financial intelligence suited to meeting the requirements of accurately and efficiently executing these processes in a large, complex organization. And as you can see, because all these processes are all in one application, it simplifies the user experience and technology environment significantly because there's only one product to learn, own, use, and maintain. And while we've designed our platform to address the most sophisticated problems large organizations face today, we've also done it in a way that makes that end user experience as simple and easy as possible. Some of the ways that we do that is, with function forward capabilities like workflows and task manager and guided reporting to provide those users with exactly what they need when they need it. And again, we consistently are ranked at the absolute highest in ease of use in customer surveys, even though our customers are tackling some of the most complex business challenges they're facing. And lastly, we give our customers the ability to extend the investment of the platform with the XF Marketplace. And this is where we're able to deliver additional capabilities without adding complexity and disruption. So our marketplace today includes over 50 solutions that customers can download, configure, and deploy to address additional requirements. And our marketplace also allows you to significantly extend the scope and value of your platform as your business requirements change. So this is extremely unique as it provides a platform that's really virtually future-proof as you're trying to extend the use as your business requirements change, et cetera. So with that, I'd like to pass it to Jeff to talk about the what-ifs.
So thank you, Dave. Hi, this is Jeff Nadeau with eCapital, where, as Stephen mentioned, we're a firm focused on helping companies solve their biggest data challenges. Our work has changed over the years as different technologies have been developed and capabilities have advanced. And today we see OneStream as one of, if not the best-in-class solution for the Office of Finance in helping advance actuals, management reporting capabilities, and the forecasting and planning processes. We are hoping we can take you on a very short journey today and help paint a picture as to how you can start down a corporate performance management, or sometimes referred to as an enterprise performance management path, and enable more and more capabilities as you grow more comfortable with the solution and as the questions you are asked continue to grow in complexity. For FP&A professionals, I think the phrase, "What have you done for me lately?" is very appropriate. Not unlike other parts of the business, we are expected to grow in our ability to provide insights and guidance for the business. And especially in today's environment, there is more and more pressure to react more quickly to changing business needs. As we meet with finance executives, we still overwhelmingly see one tool as the hands-down favorite. Regardless of the size or complexity, the majority of organizations use Excel more than any other tool. And for those of you on the webinar today that may have an advanced forecast and planning tool, my guess is it is largely used as a data collection tool, with most analysis still happening in Excel. Now, I love Excel. My first experience with a spreadsheet was in the late 80s as a high school sophomore using Lotus 123. Pretty basic stuff, but I was generating bar and pie charts, running calculations, really not all that much different than today. And as much as it pains me to say this, because now I'm telling you how old I am, Excel is basically 30-year-old technology. But given that, what gives it such staying power? It's really not much of a secret. Excel gives the individual finance and accounting professional the flexibility to do pretty much anything. I think all finance execs are pretty aware that this flexibility also introduces a slew of associated challenges. I think we've all been in situations where we've got shared drives full of multiple folders, full of individual spreadsheets, integrating, compiling, linking, updating across these spreadsheets. trying to figure out how to communicate changes and templates. Do you password protect? Do you not? And every time you get a new requirement, really, how are you going to manage that? Are you going to use an existing template, build another one, leverage something that's already out there, whatever that's going to be? And it kind of leads to something I kind of describe as Excel origami. You're constantly trying to bend, shape, fold, and utilize what you've already built somewhere in Excel to answer that current need. Now, all that said, I love Excel. And we're not here to present OneStream as a platform that will allow you to eliminate Excel from your environment. Excel has its place and it has its uses. And how do we really, what we're trying to get to is how we move to a place where we maximize and use Excel for what it is really good for and minimize those areas where it is weak. I would contend you really need a tool that leverages the best of what Excel provides with the benefits of a more modern technology with advanced capabilities. And part of what today is about is really trying to provide you a vision as to how you can start from Excel and then grow into all the capabilities that OneStream has to offer. And ultimately, you'll never really have to leave Excel. Now, technology today is really overwhelming. I have my kids showing me cool tips and tricks using my iPhone that I didn't even know were there. I've experimented a little bit with creating a smart home, and the corporate world is really no different. As Steve mentioned, organizations are really starting to leverage and realize some of the promise of RPA, robotic process automation. You may have seen other demos of solutions where predictive analytics automatically provides a forecast, or even kind of further out a little bit of artificial intelligence or machine learning where IBM Watson has the capability to give you some profound new insight to your business that you never thought of before. This technology is here. It can work, but is also something that is really difficult to accept as personally possible when you live in an Excel world. Just on a personal note, over a year ago, we got our first Echo Dot from Amazon. And for the most part, it's always been just a novelty item, not anything I couldn't live without, but certainly something I wasn't going to get rid of. Then we ended up just recently getting an Amazon Fire Cube, and the voice capabilities just kind of open kind of doors, and lights went off. We use it for creating grocery lists, controlling thermostats, kind of being able to just find a show without actually having to kind of click and know what app you had to go to get there. All of a sudden, it's like the light bulb went off of kind of what this voice recognition really means and how it can make kind of the personal home life a little easier. And I guess to bring that to the corporate environment, that's kind of what we're hoping to kind of bring about a little bit today is kind of take the novelty out of some of what these tools have to offer and how they can really provide value to you today. And really what we want to do is showcase two things. The first is you don't need to, nor would we necessarily recommend activating kind of all the capabilities you're going to see with OneStream today. If you, like most everyone else in the world of FP&A, live largely in Excel, use that as a starting point. And as you gain an understanding of how the technology can be a differentiator, you'll be ready to expand. And then finally, we're going to really spend quite a bit of time on the what-if capabilities within OneStream, where you can really offer you a completely different approach to thinking about how you can deliver more and more value as a finance organization and really improve your overall organizational capabilities. With that in mind, I'd like to just spend a couple minutes talking about how you measure improvement in an FP&A organization. This is a people-led organization, so for what and how can you think about what improvement actually means? The first is, how do you eliminate or increase the speed at which repetitive tasks are completed without impacting the quality of the output? So as an example, in the case of accounting, how do you shorten the close cycle from 5 days to 3 days and improve data quality? On the forecast side, how do you get that budget cycle from 6 months down to 3 or 2 months, or maybe even down to a week? How do you get a forecast down to 3 days or less? In finance, time literally is money. I'm not going to rehash the limitations of Excel. You all know that pain every time you need to make a change to your models for each budgeting or forecasting cycle, and then the versioning on top of that. But how do you take time and cost out without impacting quality? This is incredibly challenging when there are more and more requirements pushed upon you, and the ever-growing requirement to do more with less is out there. Wouldn't it be great to have more confidence that when you hit send on that email that there was not some math error in it? And that's one of the places where OneStream can provide help. So if we really think of time is money for finance people, how do you do more with less? And part of that is really eliminating or moving towards higher value activities. Now this is really kind of the definition of incidental waste from a lean manufacturing perspective. But as you look at these items, how much does Excel drive this? How do you really move forward and increase your analytical capabilities? And how often are some of the things that you do and the reports that you create really driven by the limitations that you face with Excel and not really leveraging and using it as the powerful tool it can actually be? Third, how do you really move towards increasing accuracy over precision? And this is easy to say. On the planning side of the house, many organizations plan on the same basis as actuals, or there's really one model, again, because you're in Excel, that you use for the entire enterprise, meaning everyone plans in the exact same way. If you look at like a manufacturing company and just a simple expense like T&E, on the operating side of that manufacturing company, you could probably be 500–600% over in T&E and not have any material impact to the bottom line. However, on the admin side, that would be very, very significant. For different parts of your organization, have you clearly identified or understand the key activities or drivers of that business? What if you could structure your planning activities on those same items? You could move to where you are not just loading numbers, but really making the analysis part of the process. This allows you to integrate the repetitive tasks with the analysis, focus only on the things that really impact that part of the business. That can be really powerful. This in turn really turns the what if analysis you will see shortly into something really, really special. And finally, if we think of what the core objective of a finance organization actually is to help that organization manage and understand risk. My guess is no one on this call was prepared for the type of questions you are being asked currently, given the changes over the past 3, 4, 5 months. We have all been crushed with requests for analysis. Everyone is struggling with the near daily changes to our world. How do you get to the point where you can answer those questions with efficiency and with confidence and with confidence in the fidelity of your response? Whether it be COVID, global warming, political events, our new normal has to be to expect the unexpected. We have to expand our ability to adapt more effectively to our environment. Excel gives you flexibility, but unless you keep that analysis at the highest levels, how do you increase the speed at which you can produce a constant and high quality product? Hopefully some of this resonates. How do we possibly deal with the increased demands for analysis and make a huge step change in terms of capabilities? Can your people deal with the disruption and the overall change? How good is your data? How long will it take to get into the new system? How and where do I start? These are all really valid concerns, and every software provider out there differentiates themselves with lots of bells and whistles, dashboards, predictive analytics, machine learning, blah, blah, blah. It all sounds great, and in many ways, and very often, it's just too much to consider. Yes, most of this stuff would be nice if you had the people, process, and data to support it. But how do you decide where to start and really what is most important? First, as you will see in the demo, you don't need to boil the ocean when moving towards utilizing technology. With OneStream, you can start wherever your most critical need is. You can have your finance teams continue to largely live in Excel and begin a journey to leverage the advantages of Excel with the capabilities of OneStream. You can start with P&L planning and forecasting just to be able to enable some of the what-if analysis you will see, and you can then enable more detailed sales analysis. The short answer, it doesn't really matter where you start. If you were convinced you need to do something, then just start. It isn't going to get any easier until you begin to change things, and you already know you can't get there with Excel alone. So I have four final thoughts for you before we jump into the demo, and really thoughts around how do you start, and as you look at technologies, what are some of the things to consider? First off, recognize that and acknowledge there's a lot you don't know. You want to look for something with capabilities you can grow into without investing more and more money. As an example, if the lack of visibility to sales and customer data is impacting your ability to see trends, you could pick the very best solution to deliver that specific functionality as quickly as possible. But as soon as you solve that challenge, another will take its place. Basically, as you get better in one area, you will naturally shift to the next. And that next challenge may or may not be a good fit for the software you selected. I would suggest you should consider in your assessment that you don't know all the problems you will need to solve in 18, 24, 36 months. You want to look for something with capabilities you can grow into without investing more and more money in additional modules or other point solutions or other major investments. So think big, meaning look at your organization and identify key gaps and areas for improvements, then start small with your initial implementation. This will allow you to get to know OneStream, its capabilities, and how to take advantage of them within your organization, and then just start rolling out new capabilities. This is somewhat similar, but beware of prepackaged point solutions. Whatever tool you will select, you will most likely live with for a very long time. We've been living with Excel for 30 years. It's not like the finance org is going to continually move and make additional investments in technology. Once you make the leap that you need more capability than just Excel can offer, you will most likely not be making additional investments. If you choose the perfect point solution, then whenever you're faced with that next big challenge, you will either force the point solution to do something it doesn't do well and never be happy with what you're able to deliver, or you're going to revert to your trusty and reliable friend Excel, and you'll be right back where you started. Third, don't forget about actuals. In the concept of lean, you really want to make your life as easy as possible and minimizing data movements. I know we're talking today about forecast and planning, but everything starts with actuals. If you have a separate solution for actuals, you will always be checking and validating data moving between systems. You will get great efficiencies by making it super easy to provide visibility and access to actual information to your financial planners. In addition, why make your planners wait longer than they have to? Actuals may not be done, but it doesn't mean planners can't get started. Again, it's not something you need to implement immediately, but there are significant advantages to be had when actuals lives with forecast and planning information. And finally, focus on the people, process, and data first. Technology enables processes, and people leverage that technology. Start thinking about what are the value-added activities your analysts perform. How much time do they spend simply updating PowerPoint and waterfall charts versus actually dealing in more analysis? How do you get to the why faster? Most of the time, an analyst does the preparation for a manager or director to review and ask the whys, leading to a whole bunch of follow-up conversations. Is that the best use of your people's time? Basically, does the tool provide you an easy way to manage your forecast and planning processes? This may not be a day one thing you are looking to achieve, but if you can't provide oversight, if the process, if you don't have that flexibility, you will find it hard. It'll be hard for your analyst to even perform simple tasks. So with all of that, if you live in Excel, everyone at your company has lived in Excel for what seems like forever. What does that first step feel like? It can feel like a tornado hit you or a cool breeze. It really depends on how big that first step is. We have clients who go big bang with actuals because they don't feel they can wait, or they're willing to have that initial step take a little bit longer, or others just want to get going as fast as possible. But either way, again, the most important thing is just get started. So with that, I know what everyone wants to see is the demo itself and the tool. So I'm going to hand this over to Jeff and take it away.
All right, great. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen here. Let's dig in and get started. All right, let me clean up a couple things here. So as Jeff said, we're going to walk through sort of a nice transitional process. So I'm going to start out and show you a little bit of Excel, reporting, data input, et cetera, and that makes for a nice transition. And then we're going to jump into more of an example of doing a long-range strategic plan. We'll set some targets at a high level, we'll ripple those down, and then we'll show how an end user could go in and input data attempting to get to or reach those targets. So I think you'll get a really good fire hose overview today in about 20 or 25 minutes. So I'm in the application now. I've come into OneStream, and I'm going to start here in my reporting area. And when I come into my reporting area, as I was saying, we're really going to start out within Excel. So when I click on Excel analysis here, I'm taken into Excel. But the difference here is that this Excel is now connected. It's got that application behind it. So in this particular example, in my presentation today, I'm a golf club manufacturer, kind of a fun thing to take a look at. But you can see here that I've got my various locations. I've got things like net income, net sales, cost of sales, et cetera. And I'm doing this in Excel. So for those of you that have been in Excel today or will be later today, you can see across the top here that familiar Excel interface. But as I'm looking at this, I don't have to import or copy and paste information into Excel. As I'm looking right now at Houston net sales, if I want to carve this out and look at it in some additional detail, it's very quick and easy to do. I can just bring that down in Excel, and I'm now looking at my net sales information. If I want to investigate getting to additional levels of detail, I can now walk that organizational hierarchy or that chart of accounts roll-up. I can see net sales is made up of these particular items. Let's say I want to focus specific on operating sales. So let's just keep operating sales as an example. But now I want to begin to navigate my other dimensions. Maybe I want to begin to look at this across one of my other dimensions. Let's take a look at it from a customer perspective, for instance. Again, very similar to Excel in terms of a pivot table, but with having that application behind it, drag the dimension in, and off I go. I'm going to start out here at the top of the house. We'll keep that, and we'll drill down on that top, expanding it out, and now I've brought in my customer information. If I want to take this one step further, let's now look at it from a product perspective. Again, you can see how I'm just easily dragging these dimensions around and navigating as appropriate. Expanding this out, I can see here clubs, balls, apparel, accessories, etc. Let's focus in on my clubs as an example. But you get the idea here that it's very easy to slice and dice, sift and sort, and navigate down through this data as appropriate. I can take this one step further if I need to. I can come down here, and let's say that I want to focus on golf hubs specifically. If I click on that, I can again take that data, I can slice that data out, and further continue my analytical path down through the data. Again, using Excel, navigating through it, very easy, very quick. If I look across a couple of my other tabs that I have here, here's just another cut at that same data. A little different format, a little different look at it. I also have the ability to input data from Excel. So again, when we talk about a transition, many other applications sort of force you into their way of doing things, into their grid or their way of operating. With OneStream, it's a very easy transition. As I'm looking at this, let's say that I want to input some information here. I want to add some new hires. I can simply put in a 2 here. I get that visual confirmation of the yellow up here. And now what I want to do is I want to submit that back into the OneStream application. So I've submitted that 2 in, and it's available now for other people to consume and utilize in Excel or other reporting mechanisms as well. If I continue my journey here, here's an example, pretty simple example, but a variance report, actual to budget with a variance and a variance percentage. The last tab that I'm going to show you here is a little more polished tab. This is probably very similar to something you have in your organization today, but as I'm looking at this, I'll point out a couple of things. One is the ability, charts, graphs, etc. Again, leveraging that Excel knowledge that you have in place. I also have commentary up here. So not only can I capture numeric information, but I can capture textual, explanation of variance, comments, etc. But within this, if I want to, as opposed to looking at Houston, let's say I want to go down and look at Houston Heights. So clicking that to Houston Heights, it will now refresh. The comments refresh, the graphs refresh, etc. If I scroll down here, you can see I've effectively changed my focus now on Houston Heights as opposed to Houston. So this is a good example of that nice transition where you can start out giving your users access in Excel, slicing, dicing, sifting, and sorting as they need to. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the application and show you really some additional capabilities or power that exist within an application like OneStream. Let me go ahead and we'll close out of Excel here, and we'll come back to where we started. And I'm going to come back here now, and we're going to look at, this is an example of a dashboard. I won't spend a lot of time on this. Believe me, I can talk for long periods of time about OneStream. But if you look down here, this also stresses the idea of bringing actual and budget together in the same application. As I'm looking at this, I've got my budgeted EBIT and my actual EBIT, and I've decomposed the variance into the components that make it up. Things like original equipment, mix, price, sourcing, bad debt, productivity. Again, these would be configured or set up to mirror your requirements. But if I look at one of these, I can go to an additional level of detail. As I look at this, I'm seeing that decomposition of the variance, but I've also got those textual explanations, the commentary. And I can see we're having some supply chain issues here. That's one of the biggest contributors that I have to my variance. So I may want to investigate that or look at that in a little bit more depth. Let me come out here and let's take a look at that. I'm going to drop down to my material usage analysis. Now I'm starting to cross the line between financial data and operational data. And one of the things that I'd ask you to think about is how you accomplish things like this in your organization today. Many times this is a login to another system or a call to the IT department, or I've got to import data into Excel. It can be forcing me to jump through a lot of different hoops. As I look at this, I'm looking for my club's product line, and I can see my top 10 vendor spends here. I can also see invoice data, raw material mix, and in my example, I've got manufacturing facilities in California, Texas, and Florida. If I know one of my vendors is struggling a little bit, maybe OneSteel is struggling, if I focus on OneSteel, what you'll see here now is I get a focused list of the invoice detail related to OneSteel. So I can see the invoices related to that one particular vendor. Again, going back to the fact that different states right now are coming on and opening up at different rates. In fact, a lot of them are closing or shutting things down again. So we may want to take a look at what our exposure is. Let's pick on California here. So if I click on California, I can see my top 10 vendors related to California and the invoices related to my California manufacturing location. One other thing I may want to take a look at is carbon fiber is getting a little scarce. It's a raw material that's a little tough to come by right now. So let's focus in on carbon fiber, and I can see that I've only got 4 suppliers of carbon fiber. I've got some risk if my products are using carbon fiber. So again, the idea here is from this dashboard, I can really navigate and get down and see a lot of information very quickly. In this case, I've isolated that we may have a problem with carbon fiber. We may want to think about introducing a new product, maybe a titanium driver as an example. Let's now go back here to my main dashboard, and let's drop over into the idea of a longer range strategic plan and see how OneStream can assist with that. If I click on my strategic plan here, what you'll see happening is I've got a number of different scenarios. If I go out here to my baseline, you can see I've developed a baseline driver. And very quickly, what I have over here on the left is the key performance or the key drivers for my organization. In my example, I have things like a revenue growth factor, gross profit margin, salaries and wages, DSO, DPO, and you can see here that I've got a baseline. But I also can have other scenarios, things like upside, downside, what if 1, what if 2, what if 3, and a final. And ultimately, I can come down here and I can look at the cash flow based on all of those assumptions. You can see I'm going out here to 2023, but I've got my baseline, my upside, my downside, and my final. If I now come back here, let's create a brand new scenario. If I jump over here now to my what if, you can see right now, I don't have anything in what if. So what I want to do is make a copy. I'm going to take my baseline scenario here and make a copy of it. So we'll copy that to baseline, and let's copy it to what if 1. Once I've done that, I'm making a copy of that baseline, and I'm going to flex those drivers. So now I'm playing the role of developing a high-level strategic plan. I'm not having to do the complete trial balance. I'm just flexing certain drivers, certain metrics that are key to my organization, and I'm going to see what the effect is of doing that. You can see here now that my what-if scenario is populated. It's identical to baseline at this point in time. So let's make some changes. I'm going to come in here, And let's say, for instance, that I want to make a 3% increase in sales. So I'm going to bump up my sales by 3% over that period that I'm inputting data for. Let's also make some adjustments to a few other things. Let's adjust my DSO here. It's a simple matter of coming down and inputting that number for an adjustment. I'm going to drop that down by 90%, and my days payable, I'm going to make a change to that as well. Let's just drop that down 15%. And once I've made those changes, it's very easy for me now to come up here and just save and calculate. So it's now using the changes that I've made, and it's recalculating or recasting that scenario very quickly. What I can see here down at the bottom is I can see the change between baseline and what if one. So very quickly I've created that new scenario, and cash is king. I want to come over here and look at my cash flow, and let's filter out the upside, downside, and final, and let's see the small effect that I've made or the small change that I've made. You can see here that it's trending in the same fashion, but I can see that effect very easily. Again, I could continue to flex these drivers, make the changes, create new scenarios, but I'm doing that at a very high level. So I'm doing that high level change, and then what I want to do next is I want to put this down into the hands of my field personnel. So I've made these corporate assumptions, I've set these targets. So what I need to do now is I'm going to do this bottoms up. So I'm now going to take it, I'm going to take that what if one that I just created, and I'm going to allocate it down to a target scenario. I've made the assumptions at the corporate level. I want to allocate or spread them down and allow my end users to change the budget or update the forecast to achieve that target that we've just set for them. And I'm going to base it based on budget version 1. So I'm going to spread that high-level revenue target or that high-level operating expense line down based on budget version 1 to my target. Now, once I've done that, I want the user to go in and make some changes or updates to it. I'm going to come back here now to my main screen, and I'm going to switch roles on you here. I'm going to stay in as the same user, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my budget here. And when I go into my budget, I get a look at what's going on. You can see here I've got my budget version 2, my budget version 1. I've got that target. I've got some information over here. I've got that same waterfall going on comparing target to budget version 2. And I've got my budget version 2 expenses by cost center. So I can begin making changes or updates. So I've switched roles on you here. I'm now more of an end user, and I'm going to begin inputting this information. So let's make some changes to our revenue. If I come down here, I can click on my revenue, and I'm presented with an input screen. Now a couple of things here as an example. I can input this information and get that immediate feedback. As I'm doing this, let me expand this out. And let's say as an example that I know that Active Hub is going to open a new location in New Jersey, and we expect about $10,000 of revenue from them. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to input that $10,000, and I'm going to save that information. So I can save that, I get immediate feedback. I could go back to my review and see exactly how we're doing, how we're moving to or getting closer to that target as an example. Let me collapse this up. I also have the ability here to do top-down. Much as I was setting a top-down at the corporate level, I can now do the same thing here. I'm working on my Mach 5 product, which is my biggest seller. And if I come here, I can do a top-down on that Mach 5. And let's say that I want to bump that up to about 3 million. So let me go ahead and we'll input that 3 million. Once I've done that, we'll update it. And what it will do is it will take that 3 million and allocate it down throughout the organization, giving me that sort of top-down setting, if you will, for 3 million. If I come back in here now, I can see that the budget version 2 has been adjusted to 3 million. And if I expand this down, I can see that I'm doing that by customer and by region. And if I now go back to my review, you can see that I'm closing the gap now. I'm getting down here to, I'm getting closer to that target as I'm flexing that budget version 2 by flexing my revenue numbers. I could continue to do that for other products if I wanted to. Using simple drop downs here, I can come over here and I could do it for my other products as well. Let's say that I want to add a new product. If you think back to when I started, we were having some trouble with our carbon fiber product line. I'm going to introduce a new titanium driver. So I'm going to add a new product member here, and let's say that I'm going to add that titanium driver product line. So let's go ahead and let's create that new product. Now once I've created that new product is available for me to input to. I can go here. I can go to my titanium driver. There's no information for this titanium driver. It's obviously a new product that I've just started. So let's say that I expect to get about 20,000 out of that. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put 20,000 in here. And once I've done that, doing the exact same thing, I'm going to allocate it down based on the Mach 5. And we'll go ahead and we'll put in 20,000 for that driver and see the results of that. So I've introduced a new product now. I've put in an amount for it, and I can see the results immediately with that 20,000 that I've done for that new titanium driver. I could go back and take a look at my review here. Again, continuing that process. I'd ask you to sort of think about how your organization does this today. For a lot of organizations, this can be a real challenge if they need to change, update, do all these sorts of things. Let's skip ahead here. I know we're running a little short on time, and I do want to leave some time for discussion and question and answer at the end. But let me show you a couple of other examples of looking at information. If I come down here to my capital, I have the ability to do that same sort of a thing with capital planning. So as I'm looking at capital as an example here, you can see that I've got my capital items that I'm going to be acquiring. I've got down here my buildings at cost, hardware cost, machinery and equipment, etc. I've also got some information about my cash versus long-term debt. So what I've done here is I've set up some drivers making some assumptions about percentage of financing and as well as interest rates, and the appropriate calculations are being done. So the ability to acquire capital assets and have the application do the appropriate calculations for depreciation, insurance, maintenance cost, or anything else. Again, you're really seeing here the advantage of doing this within an application as opposed to in discrete sort of Excel spreadsheets. I can continue to allow my users to input in Excel and submit into the application, and the information can be consumed much as you see here. One other example that I'll show you here very quickly is if I come down to my cash. Again, this is what's driving us. If you think about some of the things that Jeff was talking about, the ability to flex information, to make changes, to quickly adjust or change course based on a 13-week cash forecast or a 26-week cash forecast, quarterly forecast, whatever it might be. But cash is going to bring this all together. So as I'm looking at my cash flow here, what I'm now seeing as an example here is just that. This cash has brought this all together and is giving me that combined picture. If I flex the revenue, if I flex the travel planning, anything else that I flex, additional people, made capital expenditures, etc., it's all going to end up down here on my cash. And as I'm looking at this, I see right now that 9 months out, I've got a bit of a shortfall. I've got an $865,000 shortfall here in my monthly cash flow. So I may want to make some changes to this. I may want to take out a short-term loan. And it's as simple as coming up here, and I can insert this, and let's say I'm going to input, I'm going to take out a short-term loan, and when I take out that short-term loan, I want to make sure that I've got enough to cover that. So I'm going to take this out for $900,000. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to book that in the 9th period, because that's when we're seeing, that's when we're seeing the shortfall. So let's say I'm going to take that in the 9th period, and I'm just going to make this a very short-term loan. I'm going to make this a 3-month loan. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to save that, and what you'll see happening here is there's that. It's taking in the interest rate that I had, the 2.25, so I've made assumptions about financing rates, etc. And as I'm doing that, if I now complete the workflow, what OneStream will do is it will take into account all the changes, everything that I've made, and give me that immediate feedback, including what happened with my short-term loan that I just took out. If I take my short-term loan out here now, you can see that I've turned that into $128,000 plus sign on the monthly cash flow. So again, this is all about being flexible and allowing you to be nimble and move very quickly. Multiple versions of the forecast, flexing it, creating top-level targets, allowing my end users to go into the system, make changes, make updates. I could get that immediate feedback and see the results immediately from a cash perspective. So that is what I'll call sort of a fire hose demo in terms of OneStream. I do want to leave some time. We got about 9 minutes left here, so I do want to leave some time for some question and answer and discussion. And Jeff or David, I think you guys had a slide that you all wanted to show as well. But I really wanted to, like I say, give you that very quick, broad overview of OneStream, and hopefully we hit on a lot of things that, as an organization, you're struggling a little bit with today. So Jeff or David, I guess one of you are going to take it back now.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and take control of the presentation there, but just a couple questions that have come in through the Q&A panel. One of them, Jeff Priest, probably direct this one towards you. There's a question about, does OneStream incorporate any sort of predictive planning capabilities? Yes.
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is we do have a predictive capability, and it is actually pretty powerful. I'll describe it very quickly, and if you're interested, please reach out and we can go into it in more depth. But there are over 20 different models in there, and what it will do is it will look at historical information, pick the correct model, and forecast out out into the future based on that historical information and historical trends. Now, with that being said, that's an example of predictive analytics. We also have something called scenario analysis, which allows you to, whereas I created that target at a high level, I made assumptions to, I don't know, there were 8 or 10 drivers there. Scenario analysis allows you to flex down if you want to inflex the entire trial balance. Scenario analysis will allow you to do that as well. So OneStream really allows you a lot of flexibility with the creation of that first cut or that first pass using predictive analytics, scenario analysis, or the top-down that I showed you a few moments ago.
And Jeff, it'd be possible to put all of those scenarios kind of side by side, so you could see the system-generated ones versus the ones that are maybe bottoms up or even top-down. You can compare those side by side.
Absolutely, and we do have a couple of people that are taking the approach of they're going to have a system-generated version, right? And they're going to take that system-generated version and make a copy of it and release it to the field and have the field personnel make changes or updates as appropriate. And then they're going to have a report that says, okay, here's actual, here's what the system predicted, and here's what my folks in the field, adjusted or changed. Kind of compare all three of them and see which one is potentially the most accurate.
Good. No, I think that's helpful, Jeff. Thank you. One of the other questions came in, one of the attendees, it was really about how long does a typical OneStream implementation take? And that's a very loaded question, if you will. And I think to Jeff Nadeau's comments earlier, it really does. And again, you look at this visual that's on the screen right now, it really does depend on where you start. And you can start small. I think some of the things with OneStream, it's really important is you think big, think about all those design considerations, right, at first. But absolutely, we've had customers start very small. You might start with a GL reporting cube and get that up and running very quickly. It could provide some very much needed analysis and analytics. You could start with planning and get a basic budgeting model up and running pretty quickly. Or there's financial consolidations. A lot of organizations, to Jeff's comment, don't forget about actuals, right? A lot of organizations start financial consolidations and start layering on some of the other things after that. So again, very loaded question, but on the low end, I mean, you could get something up and running in 8 to 10 weeks. Full consolidations, plan reporting, I mean, that's going to take, definitely longer than that and get into, 4, 5, 6 months, depending on what we're trying to do. So Jeff Nadeau, maybe anything you want to add to that or any additional context you might want to provide?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. That really just depends on the scope of where you start and how complex what you need to start is. And one thing to keep in mind as you do that, if you something that's going to take 8 to 10 weeks probably isn't going to push you too far from where you are today. And you don't want to forget about more of the change impacts and what that's going to have to your finance population just to get on board with the changes that are taking place, which can take time as well.
Yeah, agreed. And a lot of that process, discussions, getting alignment. Again, if you're going from another planning system, obviously there might be some challenges there. If you're not on a planning system today, thinking through that, how do we combine this with other analytical initiatives that are going on today? So there's a lot of considerations there, but again, get in there, think about that, and get some quick wins is definitely the approach that we like to take with our customers. So I'm trying to think if we have any other questions. Okay, I think we're good from a Q&A perspective. David, anything else from your perspective from a, I guess, parting remarks from a OneStream perspective? David, you're on mute there. Okay. Well, I guess I think that's about it. So we'll, again, we really appreciate your time today. We appreciate you guys joining. If you have questions, definitely reach out. Happy to set up any demos you might want to see, further discussions about any of the things that we showed today within OneStream or some of these process things we talked about. But again, we want to thank you all for joining today. We really appreciate your time, and we'll plan on talking to you soon. Thank you very much.